And we are back. We hope you got your coffee, your donut, your knish, your quiche, or whatever. What was your cup say today?
None of it
Friends.
matters. It's the same cup every time. I stopped bringing new cups.
Do the plug.
None of it.
Do the plug.
It's last days. This is literally the last weekend of the Friends Experience out in King of Prussia Mall.
Yes.
Last weekend, last chance. It closes on Monday, the 29th. My father's birthday.
And you got to get out there. You have to sit on the couch. You have to be in the morning. You have to be in the.
You do.
In the cat. What do they call it? The morning. What's the coffee?
You're pathetic. Central Perk. Wait, my favorite. Misty doesn't know this story. Okay, we haven't introduced Misty yet, but my favorite Mike Friends story is I do the PR for the Friends Experience locally.
Oh, okay.
And the first time I brought it up, and I brought it up on air, Mike says, I've only seen like 5 episodes of Friends.
5 episodes.
And he says, like the one where he's cutting the candy bar.
That's the one you remember?
That's Seinfeld, not Friends.
Look, everybody.
She's speechless.
If it doesn't involve The Sopranos or anything on HBO or any of that stuff, I didn't watch it. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not cool. This is a cool group over here.
That's right.
And
cool girls.
over here is the uncool group that likes actual action and real life, murder mystery or whatever you want. I'm joking. Anyway. I don't mean to segregate Misty already, but we have Misty Ralston here.
Segregating with me, it's all good. Okay, but let's get down to business.
Oh, we have a lawyer in the building.
Right.
Rule on us. I know I'm joking. Misty Ralston, Esquire, owner. You deserve the Esquire. You did all the school and the law, and so she is the owner of her own law firm right here in the Southern Jersey area, Gloucester County, representing.
Yes.
And she's here to talk to us about a specific type of estate planning and planning for the unknown. It's a conversation people hate to have, right?
It is. It absolutely is.
But it's a conversation that definitely needs to be had because we're seeing now it's the spring and we're transitioning to summer, and you have your older children that now are going into the world of adulthood. They're traveling out into the world. They're going to college. They're going into the military. They're becoming adults. They're becoming, hopefully, taxpayers that put into the whole, right? So, and this is what your forte is. Your forte is planning for the unknown with estate planning and what's to happen, because we were talking in the break and you had mentioned that, and it never really occurred to me on this, is that what happens if your child, God forbid, is driving this weekend in a car and gets into an accident and is incapacitated, and they're 18, 19 years old. Mm-hmm. There's no next of kin. They're just communicating directly with them. So walk us through.
But I also want to start from the beginning, right? So okay. I'm a very chronological person, so we have to just deal with my need for order. And Joe and I did this.
Is this the same hope I deal with every day? Order?
Order!
Chaos.
However.
Okay.
I'm bridging the gap between the two.
Bridge the gap.
However, the chaos, when Sari, who's now 12, was 5 months old, Joe and I I'm looking through my notes, and pretty much most of the things in here we did, down to we named our guardians, which I would like to change, and my husband won't even bring it up with me. I'm like petrified that we die, and what we did when the kids, like 12 years ago, comes out, like different decisions for different ages, and he's not ready to reconsider, but I want to go to an attorney and just change it anyway.
And that's honestly something that's very important. You should be updating your
We
stuff
haven't
at least
updated
every
it.
3 years.
And we haven't done that. And I'm not sure that the gentleman we used is still in business, so maybe we'll just call you. But we also have the babysitter packet. So I want to make sure we go through all of the things. Like, I feel like we haven't given the background and the basics for people to know what we're talking about. So let's start there.
Okay.
From Misty.
Well, it is very important, like you talked about. You have kids and you go out with your husband.
Yeah.
You're having a nice dinner. You go away for the Poconos.
Yeah.
Or a trip like that.
Yeah.
and you leave the kids, let's say, with grandma.
Yeah.
If God forbid something happens and you guys end up in the hospital,
Yeah.
grandma needs to have a power of attorney to be able to take the kids to the
Yeah.
doctors.
Yeah.
You can't be reached.
Yeah.
If they're left with a babysitter at night,
Yeah.
and here it is 2 o'clock in the morning, and they haven't heard from you, and the 16-year-old's mom is calling saying, get home, we're going to call the police. We want to stop that from happening. We don't want the kids to be taken into foster care.
Right.
Yes. And let me tell you, so we have this whole packet. It's the caretaker babysitter's packet. It is still hanging on our fridge. We keep it in the same spot. We don't even use babysitters that much anymore, but everything is in there, who the guardians are, what we want to have happen. Joe and I went on a baby moon when I was pregnant with our second. And his friend took Sari for us for the weekend. And she said, I won't take her unless you write me a letter. And she wasn't like, I won't take her. She's like, okay, let's talk about all the things. Oh, you need to write me this letter. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I wrote that medical letter that said, this person has the power to medically treat my child while I'm not here. Because God forbid something happens and I'm in Mystic, Connecticut and they're in Marlton, New Jersey, and Sari has a problem when they go swimming. Like, who knows? So
Or
we
gets a cold.
Yeah.
Anything
Well,
could
yeah,
happen.
right. I could go to
A
the
toothache,
extreme,
you
or
know?
it could just be
Anything could happen. You want them to be able to get the care that they need.
yes.
You know, and even with naming guardians, so many people will name my brother and his wife. And then you sit down with you. Do you really want your brother and the wife named? If they get divorced, do you want the wife to be able to get, oh, no, just my brother. Or they only name long-term guardians. Well, what happens if all your guardians are 2 hours away, 4 hours away, 6 hours away? They're not going to be able to get there in 15, 20 minutes. So you want to have your short-term and your long-term guardians.
So Joe and I are in an interesting situation, right? So his parents are not an option. My parents are my natural go-to, but they're my parents. And they don't, I mean, they will do what needs to be done, but you know, they've done this already. They're done. They've raised their kids.
Yes.
I'm sitting here as their youngest. And so, you know, we're looking at the remaining family members and where we want, and we chose, I always think about the movie with Kate Hudson. Oh my God, I love this movie.
So much that you forgot the name.
Overboard?
No.
Didn't she do
It's
it-
more
didn't she do a
recent.
remake?
It's yeah, but it's way. That's Goldie Hawn, her mother.
Yeah, I thought they remade it, but
No, this is that her sister died and has kids, and there were 3 sisters.
Yes.
And Kate Hudson was the carefree, doesn't have kids, lives in the city, and the other sister was the mom living in the suburbs.
I know this movie
yeah.
because I actually remember seeing this movie. I just can't remember the name of it either.
Me
so,
neither. And the sister who passed away chose Kate Hudson, the carefree one, and the Joan Cusack was playing. Like, I know everything about this movie except for the name of it. But it like
The movie that shall not be named
Yes.
and it starred.
I'm just gonna Google it.
Stop. So
Anyway.
And the thing with that also is to have that conversation with those people. So many times we don't want to have the conversation, but you need to let those people know, are you going to be okay with me naming you this? And are you okay with the fact that I've chosen Mike to raise the children? Not because of you.
Right.
You travel so much. You have 3 kids of your own. Is it and
I think it's Raising Helen.
raising them and talking to your families about it.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are afraid to have the conversation.
Yeah.
One of the things I'd like to do is offer a family meeting after everything's done, so you can tell your family, here are the decisions I made, and here's why.
right.
So there's no hurt feelings afterwards.
So
And-
what
but
are-
that's also a challenge in itself because no one wants to sit there and say. A lot of times people don't. They're not trying to make it sound like, hey, you're a favorite of mine, but logically, in your state of mind or in your capacity as an adult, can you actually take over the stewardship of our child?
Exactly.
In that realm if we're not here anymore. My wife and I had many conversations about that. And I'm going to talk to you off camera about this because I intentionally do a video every year, and every year I have a script I go by, and on it states my name of right sound of mind on this date and this time. I have dictated, final orders or needs for me, because I don't have the time to put a will together, and so I think a video goes a lot longer, and actually it's more pressing. It's my voice and
But it's not legal.
It's not legal.
It's not legal.
It's a nice thought.
It is a nice thought. I'm sorry. I don't even have a legal degree. I'm telling you, that's not legal.
But nice try.
Well, I remember Brewster's Millions, if you remember that movie.
Yes, I do.
Yes, and it's fiction.
I know, yeah. So I guess my whole life's fiction.
Look, I just went through this whole thing with raising Helen, so I get that.
Right.
However, you need an actual will. No more video.
And especially if you have kids.
Yeah, the will's about 5 years old right now. So
My will's 12 years old. So what happens if you don't know where your will is and you want to update it and your lawyer isn't
Responsive or available
working
or
anymore?
Working anymore.
anymore.
You would actually just start new. New Jersey has a statute that says they register wills, but people don't really do that in New Jersey. It's not required.
Okay.
So if you lose your original,
Okay.
it's not a good thing.
I guess it's in the state.
Attorneys used to keep it, a copy. Most don't now. I give my clients actually a fireproof box. So I tell them to put everything in their box. And this way, if anything happens, they can just grab their box.
right.
You give them that box?
Yes. And it has their will and all their
Nice.
documents, and then there's a spot for them to put passports and things like that.
Okay.
It's waterproof, it's fire resistant, like 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You just grab that if there's a
Yeah.
problem. And it's got a combination lock on it. But you want to make sure that every couple of years you're having it looked at and changed. You don't know what's going to happen. And even with, especially with kids, younger kids, if you were to die without a will and they can't find the will, then it's going to have to go through probate and it's just in the state rules and things like that. Do you want your 18-year-old child to get your life insurance policy that may be $200,000?
Ours are $1 million.
Now, they may be really excited to invite all their friends to the Taylor Swift concert or to the Super Bowl. But I'm assuming as parents, that's not what we would want.
Right.
So those are the types of things you need to take into consideration.
Right,
We were talking earlier about the 18-year-olds.
Right.
Driving in the summertime, it's a holiday weekend, they're renting a house down at the shore. People are like, well, I'm their parent. It doesn't matter. Look at I think it was Terry Ann Shiva that was over in Pennsylvania or Florida a few years back.
Yeah.
She was married. There was nothing in writing as to what to do if she was incapacitated.
Yeah.
Her parents said she would want to be on machines. Her husband said she wouldn't, and they spent how long in court
Yeah.
to get that decided.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't want. You don't want your
Yeah.
family to have to spend all the money you've tried to save for them and avoid estate taxes
Yeah.
to give to an attorney to fix something because you weren't updating it, you didn't do it correctly, or what
Boy,
have you.
it's just more responsibility we as adults have to have.
Much more responsibility. And we have to start them young. We have to start them at 18, 19, like we do with taxes.
Yeah.
Sitting them down and teaching them how to do their taxes.
You
We
know
need to
what's
teach them how to
really
get this system.
interesting about that is I have always believed that kids in, and I'm not suggesting this for this age, but it's the process, the thought process, that kids in middle school and high school, so great, you know how to do addition and you know how to do algebra. Do you know how to balance a checkbook? Do you know what that means? Those are the classes that they need to have
Absolutely.
in addition,
And
right?
we don't even do that anymore.
Adulting 101, and you'll be amazed how many don't have a clue
I mean,
about it.
honestly, my mother has always said these kids go to college and there's a credit card stand on
Yes,
every
there is.
corner, and kids have no concept of what it means and rack up all this debt on top of debt on top of debt. It's the same thought process at a young age. When they turn 18, it's okay, you're a legal adult. Here are the responsibilities that you need to have. And we'll walk you through it and we'll do stuff with you. And every 3 years we'll do it with you and whatever it is. But it is teaching them at a young age.
So-
And you know what else is nice about that, though? They understand adulting a little bit more and how and quicker your kids will be able to relate to you
Yep.
and
it's just
change that
It's a gift
whole.
of protection. It's a
It
gift
is.
of teaching them.
It
so
is.
they're not behind the 8 ball.
So, talk to us a little bit about how a trust would be set up in a way to protect children and next generation or generations. Not necessarily by wealth, but by assets. Because you could have assets without wealth.
Absolutely.
Right. So, what in the state of New Jersey or the state of Pennsylvania, the rules are kind of the same that way a little bit. There's not. Is there a lot of variance in between?
Pennsylvania's a little bit different.
Okay.
It's not so much as setting the trust, it's the reasons behind setting the trust.
Right.
I always tell people, if you have young children and something happens to you, that inheritance is going to the state. The state is going to basically monitor it and then give it to them when they're 18. Most people aren't going to want that. They don't want to have the guardian go for the money. So you can set up a trust. And what I like to tell people is share the wealth or share the torture. So if
Okay.
I like that, but okay.
your side of the family has guardianship of the children, your side of the family is going to be the trustee of the children's money.
Oh.
And we're going to set up that trust, and we can do lots of things with it. There's so many different options. And one of the options I like to tell people about is we can put it into a trust right now, a revocable trust. You take things out, you put things in. You guys are in charge of it. You're the trustee, you're the trustor, and you're the beneficiaries. And then if something happens to one of you, it can get split into two trusts. One is like a marital trust, and one's like a family trust. You still, the surviving spouse, can take money from each, okay? But if you get remarried, that family trust is going to shut down, basically. And unless there's a prenuptial agreement, you can't take anything from that because that's for the kids. And it's irrevocable at that point. And the kids can be protected with that, with ages. They're going to get some money at 22 when they graduate.
The milestone setups, right? Yeah.
Right.
So.
Or it can stay in there, and you can leave it in there so it can protect them from if they get a drug and alcohol issue, if they get divorced, if they have a personal injury claim.
Right.
So there's lots of things you can do with the trust to protect your family. It's just, do you want to do it now? Do you want to do it as part of your will? There are lots of questions that go into it. States like California have a terrible probate system where everyone's going to probate and it's so expensive. New Jersey's probate isn't that bad. Nobody likes it.
Right.
And there are benefits and cons to it, but it's not as bad as other states.
Right.
We're pretty lucky in that respect. So it's really what your objectives are, is to protect the kids. If they're older kids, some people are like, I don't care. If my kid's 30 years old, give them the money. If they want to blow it on the Super Bowl with their friends, they can do it. But most of the time, it's when
pretty
the
much
kids...
it's a lost cause at 30. They figured out something along
You
the
hope.
way. You hope, right?
You
But well, I mean, wow, that's amazing guidance there. So, your practice is yourself. Do you have or just you solo?
It is just me. I actually had worked for the judiciary before this. I was a hearing officer, so I got to make decisions for people in family law. And then I decided dealing with family law is tough, the emotions get in there. And as much as I love the stories, and it was like watching Jerry Springer every day.
I mean,
I couldn't imagine.
I liked estate law because I could still talk to people about their families and helping them. I do some family mediations, but mostly estate planning. And then one of the things, going back to what you were talking about, your video, and I thought you were going there and you weren't, is one of the other things that we do is every time you come in to see us, we do a legacy interview. And we'll ask you questions. What are your favorite traits about your children? What do you want to teach your children when you're growing up? And we put it on a USB drive with your electronic version of your documents. They can listen to that when you're gone.
Right.
And your assets, are, as you said, are not just wealth. Your biggest asset is you.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have that. And I tell people, I give them a USB drive that has enough storage. Put pictures on there. Put, you come home from your kids' first
what a gift.
prom. Spend 10 minutes and talk about how nice it was to see them dressed up and stuff.
Yeah.
Because
So
this is a family thing.
So a lot of the world, people, the legal world's full of shortcuts, right? Like you go on LegalZoom and they can make the estate up in a will right there, doctor it to your state's mandates, all that stuff. So what sets Ralston Law apart from someone going into LegalZoom? Like what you talked about a lot of boutique things that you go above and beyond to do for the families, but like what really makes you stand out from others that are doing what you're doing in the practice that you have?
We're very family oriented. I am a firm of 500 other firms in the country called Personal Family Lawyers, which is nice because I can refer you to someone across the country.
Oh, wow.
But our goal is to avoid conflict in court as much as possible and to keep families together. And with the Personal Family Lawyer is we look at ourselves as like a doctor. You come to your family doctor and they send you to someone else. We look at you, come to us with any of your legal issues. We do everything flat rate. We don't charge for questions. So if you call me and say, I just got hit by a car, great, I'm going to get you to a personal injury attorney. And then they can, when you have a settlement, they're going to tell you to come back to me and I'm going to make sure your settlement is taken care of. I'm going to refer you out to those different things. But when it comes to the legal Zooms, I worked for H&R Block for 15 years before I went to law school. And a lot of people would come in the off season, and I would be fixing the mistakes that they made, because you would answer a box thinking it was right and it was wrong. And answering that question wrong can cost a lot of money, even more so when it comes to your will.
And forms are so hard to fill out.
Yeah.
I mean, there are
You
some
miss one
forms
little
that
thing.
I can't do alone. And it sounds like such a silly thing, but questions can go so many different ways.
I remember somebody marked that they had a home office. And I'm like, I've been to your house. You've got a 3-bedroom rancher. You don't have a home office. And she was like, yeah. I said, where's your office? She goes, my kitchen table. I said, it needs to be used exclusively for work. She goes, that's the only place I do my job. I said, you don't cook in the kitchen anymore? And she went, oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
She goes, I thought it meant this is where I do my job. I don't go to an office.
Right.
I don't go to people's houses. I do it at my kitchen table. That's my home office.
Right.
She was honestly, and I could see how it could be interpreted that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. Yeah, I will tell people, I probably could say I'm probably not the best salesperson. I do think there are times that LegalZoom may be what a person needs. They're going on vacation tomorrow, and they're like, I really should have something. Go to LegalZoom and get something up, and then come to see an attorney later and do that.
And do it properly.
Just like if you're in the midst of buying a house and they tell you you are not allowed to spend any money until settlement, but your car breaks down, you got to get to work. You can't go get a new car, but you can go to the guy down the street that's selling the junker for $500,
Right.
and pray it gets you to where you need to go for that short time. LegalZoom, I would say, is that type of a thing. Everything has its place. Everything has its reasons.
Yeah.
You don't even need a will. The state has a plan for you. You may not like it. You may not like how it works out. But there's something there. Just like you don't need to drive. You don't need a car. You can Uber. You can
But
Lyft.
do you really want to
But
depend
is
on
that
that?
what you want?
Right.
You know, everything has its purpose. But you want to make sure that what you're doing is protecting your family in the long run.
100%. Wow. I mean, Misty, just, really appreciate all the information that you're dropping here today. And to our viewers, again, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are prepared or they think they're prepared. It's never a bad option to go with a second opinion.
Correct.
It's, interpretation, a lot about law is interpretation, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, I know I have two different legal bodies I use for different things, and I'll ask one, then I'll bounce it off the other to make sure everything is copacetic there. And sometimes you have differing views.
Absolutely.
Right? So, but again, Misty here is a small business owner. She is based in the South Jersey, Delaware Valley area. You're barred in New Jersey only, or
New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
New Jersey, Pennsylvania, perfect. So for our people in the Delaware Valley area, except for you got Delawareans, I'm sorry, but maybe she'll make an exception for you, or we'll figure that out.
Greater
Get you to
Philadelphia.
another personal
Yes.
family lawyer.
Yeah.
But part of our 500 lawyer network across the country as well too. But thank you for dropping some knowledge and so forth. You made me think about something that, when you make me think about something, that's a scary thing. So you'll be getting a phone call from me. I want to bounce it off you. But again, we greatly appreciate you coming on the show here. Any closing
Thank you
remarks?
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Any closing remarks?
No, just really take care of your families. Summer's coming. Graduations are coming. Make sure everything's set to go so that you don't have to worry about it. It takes a burden off you.
Yeah.
Get your ducks in a row.
Get
Yeah.
your ducks in a row.
So that way Misty doesn't have to get you ducks in a row for you and count. And you're trying to. I'm short for words right now.
I was going to say, oh my God,
Yeah.
spit it out.
I know.
You can pay it now or you can pay it later, but eventually you're going to have to pay to get it done.
Yeah.
If you pay it now, you're paying less than what happens if you pay it
Oh,
later.
absolutely.
Significantly
Significantly.
less.
Yeah. So-
And you're in control.
Yes.
And you have someone who knows what they're doing, guiding you through the process. All of those things are positives, every single one of them.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you. Thank
Well,
you both.
Misty Ralston, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We greatly appreciate it. Have a happy Memorial Day. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.